welcome to the vlog. I can't wait to share with you all my 5-day trip to Copenhagen with my friends Melissa and Sveta. Starting off, the flight was 8 hours long and I got a lot of reading done, though sadly I always have trouble sleeping on planes and I wasn't able to sleep at all. After Melissa and I landed in Copenhagen, we called a taxi to our Airbnb located in the neighborhood of Frederiksberg. We lugged our suitcases up 4 flights of stairs and met up with Sveta, who had already arrived. This is the Airbnb, which was absolutely stunning. I loved the open layout of this living room and its Scandinavian charm. There are 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. The family renting out the home usually lives here, so there were a lot of spaces for children. This is the room I stayed in, and this is a children's room that could be made into a 4th bedroom. There were skylights everywhere, and the family even left us a bag of truffle chips to eat. And now we are all reunited and are about to go out and grab some coffee. We took the metro to central Copenhagen and ran into our first cafe of the day, Hart Bakery. Hart has several locations around Copenhagen and is well known for their baked goods. We had a lot of other cafes to go to today, so we all just got a cup of coffee to wake ourselves up. I accidentally spilled mine and shared a citrus cinnamon roll. And then we were off to our next cafe. This one wasn't too far from Hart, and we got to see lots of beautiful architecture on the way. This is Apotek 57, a cafe located inside the Frema Studio store in Copenhagen. I believe this store used to be an apotek, which means pharmacy in Danish, that has now been transformed into what it is today. I opted for the savory waffle, which was probably one of my favorite meals from this trip. I also just really loved the vibes here. After we finished eating, we took a little look around the Frema store, which sold home goods and decor. Everything was so pretty. Sveta knew of an area with beautiful houses that was only a few minutes away, so we walked over. We were so lucky to catch Copenhagen during rose season, and we just had to stop to take photos here for a little while. Before moving on, we stopped by the ceramics and glassware store, which had the most beautiful pieces. We took a taxi to Narbro for BeitSalma, a Lebanese cafe. We got lucky to find it completely empty, so we had a nice space for ourselves to sit by the window. I got a lemonade this time since I already had so much caffeine today, and we shared the hummus and this incredible ricotta honey toast. We took a walk around the area afterwards and browsed around the shop full of cool art, ceramics, and gifts. They had tons of these cool art prints that you could also purchase separate frames for. I liked how every art piece was unique here. Just down the street was Super, a cute independent bookstore we stopped by as well. Hey everyone, so we are back at the Airbnb. We came back to rest after being out for like most of the day, and honestly we were really productive and did so many things. Like so many cute cafes here, and I'm actually loving Copenhagen so much so far. I'm just retouching up some of my makeup right now because we are going out to dinner. I made a 5:30 reservation for Delphine and I have been really looking forward to that. So we are going to fight through the tiredness and go. It's also been getting quite chilly outside. I actually didn't expect it to be this cold in Copenhagen because in New York it's actually around like 70 to 80 degrees every day lately. I mean, it's summer, but here it's more like 50 to 60 degrees, so it's actually really chilly. So because of that, I definitely need to sleep really well tonight because I just want to make sure I don't get sick at all when it's like a little chilly and I'm super tired. I made reservations for Delphine a while back, and I made sure to go when they opened at 5:30 so we could catch this beautiful interior empty. We also got super lucky and were sat at the table right by the window so we could also do some people watching while we ate. We got an assortment of a la carte dishes to share, and everything was so good. I particularly liked their saganaki, which was crispy on the outside and perfectly gooey on the inside. And that pretty much ended our night. I would definitely recommend this place for dinner if you're in Copenhagen. Good morning. It's 8 a.m. right now in Copenhagen, and I got lots of rest last night. I think I passed out around 8:30 p.m., which is great because I really needed that sleep. Though I did wake up feeling pretty congested, and I do think all of the tiredness plus being on the plane plus being cold did get me a little bit sick. So I'm gonna have to stop by an Apotek today to try to get some medicine. I don't know what Danish medicine is like, but we're gonna find out. But otherwise, on our plan today, we're gonna go to some cafes. We're also going to go to the Glyptotek. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, but that's a museum, and I think like the main areas, I wish I could pronounce them all, but I don't want to butcher it, so I won't. I hope the weather is gonna be really nice today. So far this morning, it is nice and sunny out, but like yesterday, who knows, it could just shower at any point. I think this is my outfit for the day. It is a short dress, so I might be a little chilly, but I do have my sweater on, which is good. And I just think it's really cute for seeing the major sights in Copenhagen today. We took the metro to a cafe back in central Copenhagen named Copenhagen. It has a beautiful rustic interior, and one of my favorite things about it is that they light candlesticks at the tables. And I had my first egg dish of the trip. It was incredible.
This is a good day as any to start the rebuilding of life.
After eating, we walked to Magstride, a cobblestone street known for being lined with colorful buildings. Sadly, there was a lot of construction being done on the street, but it was still really beautiful.
The sun on my skin. Beginning to thaw from within.
Next on our itinerary was the Glyptotek, a museum founded by the brewer Carl Jacobsen in 1888. It holds over 10,000 works, primarily consisting of Danish and French sculpture and painting from the 19th century. Jacobsen strongly valued the place in which art was admired and sought to make the Glyptotek an oasis where anyone can disengage from the day-to-day, free of obligation. So we just left the museum, which was really beautiful, and now we're gonna go try to get some coffee somewhere. We're gonna go back to one of the cafes that we tried yesterday, and hopefully there won't be as many people as yesterday because it was just too crowded. On the way, we saw this shop and thought what the mannequins were wearing in the window were so cute that we decided to step in. The store is called Gina Tricot, and it's a Swedish fashion chain. I was so inspired by what the girlies in Copenhagen were wearing and really felt like the pieces here fit the Copenhagen look. And I got a few things. We realized we were really close to Hay House and made that our new destination. Hay is a Danish design store that I'm a big fan of, so it was so exciting to actually visit them in Denmark. Although I sadly didn't have the budget nor space in my luggage for any furniture, I loved browsing through the 2 floors of merchandise. They even had a dog here. Luckily, I did have enough space in my suitcase for some candlesticks, and I fell in love with these beautiful designs. And of course, I also love Hay tote bags, though I didn't get any this time around. Since we were close to BUKA bakery, we went there next. This bakery is super popular, and I can see why. Their pastries all look so incredible. We sat outside, but it started to pour right after we got our drinks.
Protect!
Luckily, Melissa brought her umbrella and protected us all.
It's gonna go away. I have faith. Oh, I have faith.
The rain actually ended up passing, and both we and our goods made it out unscathed. After finishing, I ran to an Apotek across the street to get some medicine for my oncoming sickness, and then we made our way to Nyhavn, which was super close by. I know Nyhavn is a super touristy area, but I really loved it. I'd seen so many photos of these colorful buildings, and it was actually even cooler to see them in person. We were super tired though, so we didn't stay too long. For dinner, we went to Fabro, an Italian restaurant serving pasta, apps, and drinks. They have a short but sweet menu, but a long wait for a table. We waited about an hour for ours, and luckily we were sat inside because it was pretty cold out. I also totally forgot to take a video of our pasta, so here's a photo. These guys were playing chess at the table, and I thought it was really cute. For dessert, we shared 2 servings of tiramisu, which was incredible, and that was our night. It's day 3, and our plan is to take a day trip to Sweden. But first, we took the metro to ORSA to get some breakfast and coffee. We took our pictures outside and then ate at one of the tables inside.
Fresh bread and cheese is always the best combo. Our train to Malmö was at 9 a.m, so we got to the station ahead of time to make sure we got into the right platform. It was tricky, but we figured it out. The ride was about an hour long and was very pleasant. We made it to Sweden! On our walk into the city, we passed by this flower shop and decided to grab a small bouquet. It was especially chilly out because it was the morning and we were pretty cold.
Just trying to survive.
But we made it to the warmth of our first cafe of the day, Lilla Café Sturiet. This cozy cafe has several different rooms that you can enjoy your coffee in. It almost feels like you're in someone's home. After the cafe, we walked around the area and took some photos until lunchtime. There were so many cute houses with beautiful greenery. And for lunch, we made reservations at MJ's restaurant located in MJ's hotel. We were so excited to find a photo automat in the lobby, and since we were early anyways, we had time to use it. It reminded me of our fun time using the photo automat in Paris earlier this year. MJ's restaurant is absolutely gorgeous. I was taken with its high ceilings, stunning architecture, live plants, and natural light. They serve Mediterranean fare here, and since we weren't too hungry, we just ordered a few dishes to share.
Fanciest Coke I've ever had.
We also ended up staying here for quite a while just chatting, and I appreciated how it didn't get too busy there. Oh my god, we finished our meal and we were in there for like a solid 2 hours. At least we had to flag them down and ask for the check, but now we are back out. We're gonna go to a pretty house that we now know the location of and then do a few more things in Malmö before we go back to Copenhagen. We had been searching everywhere for this specific house because it was so cute, and one of Melissa's friends helped us to locate it. Crazy enough, it was just one street over from another street we had been taking photos on before. Next, we walked to Malmö City Library, which may be one of the most beautiful libraries I've ever seen. With its huge windows and spacious working spaces, if I lived in Malmö, I would be here all the time. On our way out, we spotted the Turning Torso, a neo-futurist residential skyscraper that was once the tallest building in the Nordic region. And we continued on to our last cafe of the day, Atrium. It was mid-afternoon by now, so the cafe was turning over its menu from lunch to dinner, and we luckily caught it without many people. And as you can see, it's extremely beautiful. Here was our little spread. We walked through the Slottstra garden before going back to the train station, and it was the perfect reprieve in nature. We got to see some wildlife, and of course, had to see the park's famous windmill. By now the clouds were starting to darken and we could tell it was going to rain soon, so we hightailed it back to Malmö station to take the train back to Copenhagen. Going back to Copenhagen! And I think we chose the perfect time to go back because it started to pour once the train left the station. For dinner, we picked up some McDonald's at the station and took a taxi home. McDonald's night! And we ended the night watching Dancing for the Devil on Netflix. Alright, I'm not sure why I didn't take a better video to start the day, but we're on our way to breakfast. We'd had Atelier September on our list for the longest time and decided to make this the morning to go there. We got there before they even opened and got the window seat we wanted right off the bat. Everything looked so good. Like, look at that butter. I ordered the pancakes, which were so good, and got another bowl like matcha. This meal was definitely one of our favorites.
Today was also our day to take a little trip to the Louisiana Museum of Modern Art, which is located a little less than an hour north of Copenhagen by train. The museum is considered a masterpiece of Danish modernist architecture, and some might say it's one of the most beautiful museums in the world. After getting off the train, we had to walk for about 15 minutes to get to the actual museum. The museum has a relatively single path that we actually decided not to follow, but I absolutely loved how they integrated both nature and architecture with the art of the museum. The museum also has an infinity room by Yayoi Kusama, who is one of my favorite artists, and it ended up being one of my favorite pieces we saw. Overall, this museum was just so peaceful and serene. Minus the crowds, which I bet were even larger the day we went since it was a weekend day. But the way the museum had lots of open spaces to explore gave us lots of room to breathe, and I felt as though I was walking through a painting. It started pouring by the time we were going to leave, and we tried waiting it out for a little, but it still didn't stop, so we braved our way with our umbrellas back to the train station. And let's just say it was a really chaotic walk.
On our walk, Melissa got splashed with water by a car that was driving by. The sun is now out, and this crying baby followed us here.
Birth control. Birth control, my
Birth
friends.
control.
We bought our train tickets and made our way back to Copenhagen for the afternoon. Of course, that meant it was time to hit another cafe, so we went to Wild Horses, located a bit farther out from the city center. This cafe was so cute and definitely worth the trip. Our next stop was Maillard, a bar serving beer from Maillard Brewery, based in Copenhagen. Melissa wanted to buy one of their cute printed glasses here and got a beer as well.
We are now walking to dinner at a restaurant called Høst, which I've heard so many good things about from a lot of different people, so hopefully this will be a really good dinner. It's about a 20-minute walk from where we just were, and the weather is just being so temperamental. It was raining when we got out of Maillard, and now it is like sunny and I need my sunglasses. It has just been such strange weather here.
Høst is a Nordic restaurant that's renowned for winning several design awards. The interior has a beautiful rustic vibe, and I love their use of these beautiful and healthy live plants. These tea candles on the walls were one of my favorite parts of the room as well. They serve a 3- or 5-course meal that includes a variety of meats, seafood, and seasonal vegetables. We ordered the 3-course menu, which included a starter, entree, and dessert, but they also included a few extra surprise dishes. We got some wine to pair with our meals, and then the courses began. This was a potato that was whipped into a foam texture, which was so unique. And this surprise app was like a hollow cracker? I forget what it was, but it was so good. For my entree, I got the stuffed chicken. It was perfectly tender and well seasoned, and I loved it. Next, we were served a surprise pre-dessert. That's right, pre-dessert. I don't remember what was in these either, but they were also incredible. For real dessert, we got rhubarb ice cream with white chocolate and caramel. The dessert itself was a work of art, and I was pleasantly surprised to find this being one of my favorite courses. This was definitely one of my favorite meals that I had in Copenhagen, and I would absolutely recommend Høst to anybody visiting.
Good morning, everyone. It is our last day in Copenhagen, and I'm super sad because it has been such an amazing trip, but we are going to make the most of our last day here. And I think our plan today is pretty much, of course, cafes, but we're also just going to go to anything that we just haven't done yet that we wanted to do. I think it's going to be another chilly day. It honestly just has really, in general, been very chilly here, surprisingly. I had expected it to be more of like summer weather, but yeah, it has been chilly the entire trip. But I'm hoping it is not going to rain today, so I'm going to probably risk it and not bring my umbrella. Because I really didn't bring enough cool weather clothing, I'm just re-wearing my blazer and my jeans today, and that is the look. So yeah, let's head out.
we decided to go to Andersen and Maillard, a popular cafe and bakery, for breakfast. They have these viral cute croissants there, so we had to get one of each to share. I finally tried a dish with a soft-boiled egg, and I totally get the hype now. It just goes so well with bread and cheese. Afterwards, we walked over to Caf, a smaller cafe nearby. We had tried going a few days prior, but had been too busy, and it was funny that now there were too many chairs and not enough people. I had really wanted to try the pastry with the whipped topping on it, so we got one to share. I overall loved the calm vibes of this cafe. On the way to our next destination, we ran into this shop called Boy Studios, and the clothes looked so cute we had to make a pit stop. I was in love with everything here. I wish I had more room in my luggage. I got a few pieces and even changed into this one right after buying it. Then we made our way to the botanical garden. It was under quite a lot of construction, and we had really wanted to visit the Palm House, but it was closed on Mondays. We were super disappointed and kind of at a loss for what we should do next, so we decided to head back into central Copenhagen for more shopping and cafes. That's when we found this cute flower stand, and I just couldn't resist grabbing a small bouquet of peonies. I planned to enjoy them for the day and then leave them with the Airbnb host family since I couldn't bring them home with me. Sveta brought us to Studio Arhoj, a ceramics and glassware shop that creates all of their pieces in-house. I loved how you can see exactly what pieces they're making that day and watch them being made. Bought some magnets here for my family. We still had room in our stomachs for one more cafe, so we walked over to Sunny, a cafe we had heard great things about. They had the perfect table outside, and we got small dishes to snack on since we were going to have dinner soon anyways. After resting back at the Airbnb for a little bit, we went back out for dinner at Bar Pasta, an Italian restaurant in Narborough. We ordered some focaccia and burrata for the table and our own pasta entrees. For dessert, we each got a slice of tiramisu, and I definitely could have eaten a whole other one. We took a taxi home and winded down by watching one of my favorite true crime podcasts on YouTube.
Hey everyone, so it's our last morning in Copenhagen, and Melissa and I are going to go to one final cafe before we head to the airport. Our flights are both around 12:30 p.m, so we do have just enough time to hit that one cafe. It is sadly raining though, and this does look like the kind of rain that is probably not going to pass quickly like all the other ones have, but I don't know, hopefully we'll see. We do have to lug our suitcases all the way down those 5 flights of stairs, which I am not looking forward to, but it will be hopefully a nice last morning in Copenhagen.
So Melissa and I bid farewell to the Airbnb and Sveta, who was leaving later that day, lugged our suitcases downstairs, and took a taxi to the cafe. I'm so glad we got to visit this cafe before leaving Copenhagen because it was probably one of my favorites that we visited. I didn't even get a good video of it, but I truly think the cinnamon bun was probably the best I ever had, and we ended up getting 2 because of just how good it was. And then we were off to the airport. Thanks for joining me on my adventures in Copenhagen. I had the most amazing time, and I'll definitely be back again soon. Bye!